Plague of the Vampire, Act 1, Scene 3. We open up to see a house, and in the house we see a boy in his room, fast asleep at night, when he all of a sudden hears banging at his window. He wakes up scared as the banging continues. Who's there? No response as the banging continues until the window bursts open to reveal a vampire. Except it's not the Baron. It is one of the unfortunate few who have become an undead like himself. However, unlike his master, he has retained most of his human form, with red eyes and white fangs in his mouth as he smiles at the boy. Danny, come to me. Danny then gets out of bed and walks towards the vampire, who has his hands outstretched to the boy. Good. The vampire then bares his fangs, about to bite the boy's throat, when Dr. Murnau, John, and Father Lee stand at the door, with John wielding an axe, and Murnau a cross and a silver stake. John swings his axe at the vampire, who catches it and throws it to the wall, while Father Lee grabs Danny and takes him out of the room, while Murnau hits the vampire with his cross, burning him, causing him to scream in pain. Demon of Satan, where is your master? I'll tell you nothing, mortal. The power of God compels you, demon. You will tell me what I want to know. You will suffer a fate worse than death, Doctor. My master will make you his slave like me. Tell me what I want to know before I send you back to your dark grave. John then gets back up and swings his axe into his back, causing him to shriek in pain and fall to his knees as John grabs him by the neck and puts him in a headlock as Murnau puts the cross further into his flesh as he screams out in pain. Tell me what I want to know. The old cemetery in the mountains. Tell your master we will find and destroy him. But you won't be going without a scar to tell him. John then throws the vampire to the ground and chops his hand off as Murnau throws him out the window again as he turns into a bat and flies away. Now the hunt begins. We open up to the sitting room of John and his wife, with Dr. Murnau and John talking to each other in the sitting room. We should have killed that monster, Doctor. I know how you feel, John, but trust me, once we find the Baron and destroy him to save the other vampires and this town. I know, but still, that monster just rests and comes out of his coffin and destroys everything. He's gotten away with it for too long. Soon, my friend, he will rise no more. We then cut to the mountains where we see the old cemetery, where we see the 3 vampires outside the tomb with Mr. Ryan talking to one of them with the arm that was chopped off, but it appears to have regrown slightly, smaller than his other arm. You fool! You let the mortals escape and injured you. Carl, I didn't know they were there. I don't care. The Master does not expect failure. You know this. Why do you care so much about the Baron? You are mortal while we are immortal. You will die and we will find another to serve us. Silence! Mr. Orion, with super strength, grabs the vampire by the throat, lifting him up in the air, causing the other vampires to freeze in awe and fear of this strength. I too have immortality like you, but none of your weaknesses, and I will always be here, boy! Now continue to cause chaos in the town and kill the hunters. The vampires then fly off as bats towards the town as Mr. Ryan heads back into the tomb. We then open up to see Dr. Murnau asleep in John's house with his peg leg on the side of his bed. We then pan up to his eyes closed and then into his dream, where we see him in a field with his original leg before he lost it. We then see a woman, young and beautiful with blonde hair, in a blue dress with fair skin and blue eyes. Murnau looks in shock at her and whispers her name. Mary. James. How are you here? Do you miss me? Of course I miss you every day. But you never mourn. You hunt. What? Goodbye, James. Mary, wait! Before James can run to her, she's bitten on the neck by a vampire as she screams out in pain. No! Murnau then wakes up in a cold sweat, panting heavily. Mary. We then open up to the church to see Father Lee in the chapel, praying at the altar. When he hears the door open, he then turns to see no one at the door. He gets up to investigate. Who's there? Show yourself. Hello, Father. Carl, how dare you defile this house of God? Your God excommunicated me because of what I am. You are a monster, no better than the Baron, Carl. So that's the way you look at me, the ghoul who serves the vampire. You chose your fate. But I should let the Baron tell you that. But we'll need to go to him. I'll never go with you. Oh, I know. It's why I'm not here alone. Father Lee then turns around to see one of the vampires behind him. But before he can take his crosshead to defend himself, the vampire knocks him to the floor as Mr. Ryan laughs at him. Poor little priest. Get the carriage ready. We are taking him to the Baron. Yes, Mr. Ryan. We then cut to the tomb of the Baron, with Lee on the floor knocked out, with Mr. Ryan standing over him when he awakens. Where am I, Ryan? At your end. Mr. Ryan then heads out to the tomb and closes the gate as Lee realizes he is chained near a coffin. Goodbye, Father. I fear no man, living or dead. The coffin then opens as the Baron rises, and Father Lee faces him. We then cut to black as we hear the snapping of bones and flesh, and Lee's terrifying scream.